This is Rise. Let's lock in with the goal of changing one life at a time. Yours. Together, let us rise up, inspire, strengthen, and elevate our minds. It's time to rise on the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC.
Hello, my name is Dr. Saran Heron, and welcome to Rise. Today we are going to talk about anxiety, stress, fear, self-doubt, and how not to let that hold you back. My guest today is Melody Krafft, speaker, psychologist, author, obtained her degree in education in psychology, earning her master's degree at St. Mary's University in San Antonio, Texas. She is here today to talk about how to bring more joy and confidence into your life starting today. She will share with you how to distinguish doubt, hound your intuition, and rid your life of everyday stress. The name of her book is Get Me Out of Here, What's Beyond the Madness. It discusses how to live a better life, live happily moving forward today. She will provide advice on how to rise above all anxiety, stress, fear, self-doubt, and move past those emotions. Do not let them hold you back. She is here to encourage, inspire, and help you move forward. Melody Krafft, welcome to Rise here on the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC.
Hello, Dr. Heron. So I've been looking forward to this visit with us, so I'm ready whenever you are.
Yes, we are. We're going to go right into it. Now, how long have you been a psychologist?
Oh, it's more than 4 decades now. But I have to say, the past couple decades, I've really shifted my focus where I work on a deeper level. So I really refer to myself as a soul navigator. It goes deeper than psychology.
Absolutely agree with that. Now, let's get into it. How can you rid yourself of anxiety, stress, and self-doubt, which is something I'm sure all of us had to deal with at some point in our lifetime?
Yes, especially, most people experience doubt and experience anxiety at some point in their life. And there's multiple ways that you can approach it. And it just depends on where you are in your life. But there are a number of ways. One way, when you're feeling anxious or stressed, or you're in a state of really doubting yourself, you can't make a decision. If you just lower the number of times that you breathe within 1 minute, we typically breathe 14 times in 1 minute. If you slow that down between 5 and 7, it starts to really center you. Your mind gets quiet, you feel more calm, you feel more peaceful, and that puts you in a very balanced state where you can start thinking clearly about making a decision. And so when you do that, you can create a pattern, a discipline of doing that. I always suggest to people, just do it once a day up in the morning. Just slow your breath down. And then after a while, it's going to feel so good, you're going to do it more and more. And that's going to have a generalized effect over your entire day. Wow. So that's just one of the many ways. And I also recommend to people who are dealing with these issues is really be aware of what you're thinking. So especially those times when you're feeling really uneasy, ask yourself, in that moment, what am I thinking? Because whatever it is you're thinking in that moment, you're believing a lie. That's why you're feeling so uncomfortable.
It's all in your mind. Mm-hmm. Now, what do you think, based on your experience, you've been in this field for a very long time, what are some common causes that you would say causes the anxiety, the stress, the self-doubt?
I see 2 primary causes. One is when children are living in an environment, a home environment that is inconsistent. That's going to cause anxiety because you never know what's going to happen. Right. And so that can actually create a pattern where children develop a sense of anxiety and they don't even recognize what it is. And not until maybe they get in their early 20s and they just start realizing something is not right. And then they start looking at it. How can I deal with that? For older people, when they're dealing with anxiety and doubt, what causes that is always the ego. It's always the ego. Because the ego's job is to keep us stuck in the past.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
It's always telling us we're less than.
Of course.
Okay. So that's the cause of it. So it's really very simple. And so, I always tell people, our journey is very simple. I'm not saying it's easy,
Right,
but it's
right.
simple.
There's definitely some things that you could definitely take control of.
Yeah, and so when you recognize your self-critical thoughts are coming from the ego, and I always remind people, what exactly is the ego? It's just thoughts that you believe about yourself that are true, but they're not. And that's why you feel so uncomfortable.
So lies. All lies. Now, it's important to put in the work. I would assume, based on your career and what you do to help others. How do you encourage your clients to get over, or even to begin? You mentioned a few key points, but like for that individual where it's taking longer than normal, what are some things that you have taught your clients to do that really you've seen it work and that change occur with that person?
Okay, so what's going on when people are dealing with that is that they have a lot of resistance. And the resistance comes from they don't feel ready to look at a pain that they have. It feels too painful. So without being willing to look at that pain issue, you're going to stay stuck. And I always tell people, you have to make a choice. Do you want to change? And are you willing to do what's necessary to change? And then I give them the tools on how to change, depending on what it is that they're dealing with. And they have to be disciplined about it. And when they are, they're going to see results. Because everyone is capable of change. I had a lady came to me once, she goes, well, I can't change, this is who I am. So that was her self-belief.
Right.
And it never occurred to her that she could change.
Right.
And so sometimes it's just saying something out loud, and they hear themselves differently than just listening to that inner voice.
Or just realizing you are the part of the problem, right? You've made it so huge that you are even telling yourself what you can and cannot do. Now, many people may be listening and they're experiencing anxiety per se and feel like they cannot get over it. What would you want to say to that person about anxiety?
What I would say to anyone who's dealing with anxiety, or really any issue where they're just feeling they're suffering, is that I want people to know that they're destined to reach a place of peace, to reach a place of joy. And what they're experiencing right now is temporary.
Right.
And so there's lessons to be learned, to look why they're feeling the way they are. And once they learn the lesson, they can move on.
Right. Now, stress. Let's talk about that. We all experience at some point in our life. How does one rid themselves of stress? I mean, it sounds so simple. We know it's not that simple, but definitely we can control that. What are some things you want to say about getting rid of one's stress? Okay, so stress, anxiety, and doubt, they are all components of fear. So it's the same method. It's you're believing in an illusion about yourself. When people are stressed, often it's because their identity feels threatened in some way. Wow.
And if your identity feels threatened, I always ask people, well, what is it exactly you feel like you need to protect?
Right.
You only have to protect that which is false, because the authentic you doesn't need any protection.
It's almost like you're making a fake version of yourself, if you ask me.
And so this life is, this journey is always about subtracting and not adding anything to yourself, because the reality is you already have everything. And what you're subtracting are these illusionary beliefs that you have about yourself that keep you stuck in the past, that keep you suffering, that keep you in states of anxiety and stress and doubting yourself and not trusting your intuition, which is the voice of your soul. And when you shift from that place of fear to listening to the voice of your soul, you start getting guidance from your higher self and from spirit. And so you're now guided on your path.
Right.
And so it flows, and you begin stepping out of, all that discomfort.
Right. Becoming the way it's supposed to be.
Yes.
Now you are passionate about what you do. Why are you so passionate about helping individuals and doing what you've done for many years and wanting others to have, more confidence, more peace, more joy?
Well, as a child, I saw people around me who were quite unhappy. And it was obvious that they were not happy with themselves. And when people are not happy with themselves,
Yes.
it flows over and affects other people. And not in a good way.
Definitely can agree with you on that one.
Yeah. And I used to think, gosh, if people would only become happy,
Yes.
this world would become such a different place. And so that's always been with me throughout my whole life. And I think that's been the underlying motive that's always kept me taking one step forward into working in the way that I do.
Now, those who will be inspired after hearing us have this conversation to get help, what would you want to say to them based on what you have learned in your experience and what you know? What kind of help should they, we know the exercise that you mentioned, the breathe in, breathe out, and really taking a look at yourself. But what is some professional help would you recommend for those who are not taking it that easily, that requires some help? Because sometimes people don't know that they need someone to help them through that process.
There are so many spiritual teachers and self-help teachers today that are quite good. And you can find, with Zoom now existing.
Right. Very helpful.
People can, Google what it is that they're concerned with, what they want to change about themselves. And when they find a teacher that resonates with them, you can take their classes. And so there's a range of fees anywhere from as low as $20 on up. So everyone can find something within their budget and attend a class where you're going to be with other individuals who are dealing with the same type of issue. And it has a lot of benefits to learn in a group setting, because you're also learning from each other. You're realizing you're not alone in this journey, and you're seeing everyone's in a little bit different stage in understanding where they're at. And so you can see where they're at and know that you're going in that direction too. And also, a really good teacher will create a nice, safe environment where you feel comfortable in exploring these inner thoughts that you have about yourself.
You are listening to Rise on the Voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC. My name is Dr. Saran Heron, and today we're talking with Melody Krafft, who's a speaker, psychologist, author, obtained her degree in education in psychology, earning her master's degree at St. Mary's University in San Antonio, Texas. She is here to talk about how to bring more joy and confidence into your life starting today. She will share with you how to extinguish doubt, hone your intuition, and rid yourself of everyday stress. The name of her book is Get Me Out of Here, What's Beyond This Madness. It discusses how to live a better life and live happily moving forward today. She advises how to rise above all anxiety, stress, fear, self-doubt, and move past those emotions. Do not let them hold you back. She is here today to encourage, inspire, and help you move forward. Now, Melody, as we've been talking, your book was nominated. Talk to me about that. What was your inspiration in writing the book, and talk about the nomination you received for your book?
Well, it actually won an award, a distinguished favorite in the spirituality category. And what inspired me is I always felt that I needed and wanted to write a book. And when the time, I often make decisions based on when something feels right. And when it felt right, I started writing. And I have to admit, I wasn't even too sure what I wanted to say when I started. But what I wanted people to know, I wanted them to see their life from their soul rather than their ego. To recognize that we're all on a spiritual journey, even when we don't feel like it. So everyone has different paths, but we all have the same destination. And so the book has about 30 different stories in it of some of my clients and some of my own experiences, and some are allegories about the different stages of spiritual awakening. So I walk people through the 3 stages. The first stage is about how it's all about suffering and you're really bound into the ego. And the second stage is when you reach that point, it's like, my life has just been the pits, and I know there's got to be a better way.
Absolutely.
And they make the decision, I'm willing to do what's ever necessary to make a change. And then there's many different levels of consciousness during stage 2, and people end up feeling like they're walking in two worlds simultaneously. One still working with the ego in this physical world, and then also walking and listening to the voice of their soul. And then the third stage is when we reach that Christ consciousness level, where it's absolute peace and bliss and absolutely wonderful. So we're all going to go through that.
Yes, the place that we should ultimately be. Now, individuals that you have helped, knowing that, that they can overcome these stressors, speak on your experience that you've had. How do you deal with individuals that suffer these things? Like they feel like they don't know, they're not at the point where they even believe that they could get over it. How do you motivate them and inspire them to push and reach deeper and really grab a hold and know that you can get over this thing that you may be suffering from?
Okay, that's a good question. And what I have found, until a person is ready to change, there's nothing you can do. They have to make that decision first.
So it starts with them. Wow. What is the best piece of advice that you would tell someone today who is ready? They've decided that they want to make a change. They want to seek help, as we would call it. And maybe they're not able to afford a psychologist per se. What resources that you know of that is publicly available for individuals that they could access?
As I mentioned before, there's a lot of workshops and good teachers. I would recommend to allow yourself to feel where you're drawn to, the types of books that you want to read. Okay. Some can be self-help. Some go a little bit deeper. For example, The Course in Miracles is a really good book that helps you shift from the egoic consciousness to being in a place of love and remembering that's what you are. There is the Self-Realization Fellowship that you can join, or you can attend in person or online. There's so many. There's a spiritualist church which is open to all religions, and all of these offer helping services. Sometimes they're free, or they're very nominal.
Right. Now, you also train other people. What are some training that you do when you do your training, and what does that entail for someone who's listening that may be interested in, maybe getting in touch with you to do some training for them?
Okay, so the training I've done in the past, I'm no longer doing. I used to teach mediums, and then I discovered a lot of mediums that had quite good faculties could not progress, and I realized it's because there was a resistance and blocks that they had, and I thought, well, if they're having it, everyone's having it.
Right.
And so my focus is to help people extinguish doubt. So I have workshops that focus on what I call it the magic of intuition. And after they enroll, I tell them there's no such thing as magic with intuition. Because that's intuition funny. Is actual, its nature is spiritual.
Right.
And so I teach them how to extinguish doubt and shift from the egoic consciousness to listening to their intuition, because it's the voice of the soul, and the voice of the soul is connected to spirit.
Now, you also have your own podcast. How can others get connected? Share what is your podcast about for those that may want to listen to your program.
So I do have a YouTube channel. On my website, I do have a number of audios of lectures I've given that deal with, surviving the storm, which is, and I don't mean weather.
Right. Right.
And the egoic trance, I talk about that. And so that's on my website. And then also just, you can Google my name for YouTube and you'll find my podcast and TV shows that I've done.
Great. Now, you have been a psychologist, like you said, for 40 years, which is a very, very long time. What was the most challenging for you in helping others and to deal with whatever issues they may have? And while it was challenging, how did you approach each person, each situation, to still get them to the point where you know that they can be?
Well, again, I'm going to go back to the fact when people are not willing to change, there's really nothing you can do. So that's what I find is a challenge.
Right.
Some people just simply aren't ready to change. They're too based in fear and they just resist change. So there's really nothing you can do. So with others who want to change and are willing to do something, I can't say there are challenges. I'd say that there are opportunities.
Right. And for those that you were able to help, how did that make you feel? How rewarding was that when you saw someone from the beginning that was having a difficult time and know that you were really a part of that process that helped to bring about the change that you're talking about, that they accepted that this is a problem that I have and you helped them to work on it? How rewarding is that for you? How does that make you feel? Are you still in touch with any of those clients? Share with me a little bit about that.
Yeah, I find it very gratifying when I see people change. It's absolutely wonderful. And often they stick around with me for years, popping into my classes,
right?
Touch base, which is nice because they keep telling me what they're doing. So they keep evolving. Mm-hmm. So, I remember this one lady, she used to come into my class on the Course in Miracles, and she would just kind of sneak in and sit in the corner of the room and never talk.
That's funny.
And then after working with her in a class setting, she now does public speaking. But before that, she felt that no one really wanted to listen to what she had to say. She had that fear, but she broke through it. And right now she's beginning to starting a new business of her own, and she's like over the moon about it. And so it's quite exciting when I see that. And a number of the people have started their own businesses. They were afraid to do what they loved, but they're doing it now. And because they love what they're doing, they're now extending that love and sharing their knowledge and wisdom with other people. So they're creating a lovely ripple effect and affecting more people.
And probably living in that joy and confidence that they deserve to have in their life.
They've shifted from doubt to confidence.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes. You are listening to Rise on the Voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC. My name is Dr. Saran Heron, and today we're talking to Melody Krafft, speaker, psychologist. She's an author. Obtained her degree in education in psychology, earning her master's degree at St. Mary's University in San Antonio, Texas. She is here to talk about how to bring more confidence and joy into your life starting today. She will share with you how to extinguish doubt, hound your intuition, and rid your life of everyday stress. The name of her book is Get Out of Here, What's Beyond This Madness. It discusses how to live a better life and live happily moving forward today. She provides advice on how to rise above all anxiety, stress, fear, self-doubt. Move past those emotions. Do not let them hold you back. She is here to encourage, inspire, and help you move forward. Now, Melody, the question that many may be wondering is, what are some examples that you can provide from your own experience of what you have experienced with all these items that we've been talking about? And how did you personally overcome and rise above all these things?
And for me, it was one day I thought, the life I'm living is not the life I want to live. And I decided I'm going to do whatever I need to do to change it. And that's what I did. And I became very disciplined about it. One of the things I did is I created a very disciplined meditation practice every day. When you do that, that really affects your life. It has a generalized effect over everything. I mean, there's so many things I did. And things that I would doubt in the past, it's like I would just listen to my intuition and act on it, even though my logical mind would say, no, you don't want to do that. And I would say, I'm not listening to you now, I'm going to do it. And then when I would listen to my intuition and do something that made no logical sense, I would get feedback. It would be positive feedback, and it would take me to the next step where I needed to be. There would be other resources for me, other people that I met that would open more doors. And every time you do that, and I found this for me and for others, you keep strengthening your ability to trust your intuition. You get more and more confident about it.
Now, if you had to leave our listening audience with one piece of advice, or more than one, but one main advice as to how to move through this, speak to the audience that are listening to you today.
One piece of advice, I would say stop beating yourself up. Really. Just stop beating yourself up. Get rid of that inner critical voice because it's not true.
Wonderful. Now, how could others connect with you if they wanted to reach out to you? Just go on your website or email? How would you rather to be contacted?
They could go to my website. It's melodykrafft.com, and my email is on there.
Wonderful, Melody. It was a pleasure speaking to you today, and we appreciate all the wonderful tips that you gave us from your experience and your expertise.
It was good talking to you. Thank you so much, Dr. Heron.
You're welcome. Now, for those of you who are listening, we really appreciate Melanie coming and sharing all that she shared. I'm Dr. Saran Heron. It's important to know and identify those things that are causing anxiety, stress, fear, and self-doubt. You all need to find joy and confidence in your life. Rid yourself of all things. Help yourself by realizing those things that hold you back. They're all lies. Seek appropriate help, whether a psychologist or any of the resources that we spoke about early and gave example. Let's get up and rise above and welcome more joy and peace in your life. Life is meant to be happy and live the life you deserve starting today. Thank you for listening to this week's edition of Rise, available wherever you listen to podcasts, and always right here on the Voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC.